You can't just pick up and say that, in my last film, this is the kind of lensing I did, or the movements I did, or the lighting I did. I will just go and do something else. But you're shooting a rom-com, but there is like high contrast lighting, and there is suspense, and there's smoke in the back. That can't work. So one needs to be true to the story, and uh, sort of enhance visually what is written on paper.
As happens with most students who come out of film institutes, the struggle begins. The struggle to get the first assignment. Sometimes seniors from the institute trust your training and education, and they take you at a sorry junior level. You did work as assistant camera person, as a and then later on as the first assistant. So how did you find your first job? I mean, when you landed up in Mumbai, what was the struggle? How did you manage the first job? Did you have to go and meet seniors or any filmmaker who was making a film? What was the journey like?
So honestly, having no guidance really, when I came to Bombay, I sat down with all of these film magazines which have names and numbers of production houses. I made a list of 100 production houses. I made calls, send them emails, and send them my student projects and everything, only to realize the route to go would to be assist somebody, because I would go meet producers and directors, and they'd be like, we can't, you don't have the experience enough for us to immediately give you a job. And I figured that assisting was the way to go. And right after that, I made a list of 3 DPs that I would like to assist. Of course, in the course of that, I used to go assist some friend, seniors who would become friends and everything, and work on their projects while they were doing stuff. But I wanted to affiliate myself with somebody, and I had a list of 3 DPs, and Ravi K. Chandran, who's my mentor, was on the top of my list.
Okay.
I One fine day I called him up and I said that I really like your work and I'd like to learn from you and assist you. And the rest is history. I worked with him for 5 years on about 8 projects. On my first film, I was a second assistant, and then I was his associate. So I worked with him on 8 films. And soon enough, when he felt I was ready, he tried to push me out of his team, and I got my first film with Yash Raj, which was Mujhse Friendship Karoge, and never had to look back after that.
So, and now you are a director of photography. You've done about 11,
Yes,
11 films and
project.
television series
Yeah.
as a DOP. Today, when a script is pitched to you and you are invited to work on a script, how do you look at the script? Visually, how do you ascertain once a briefing is given? Is it the same briefing that the director has given, or you start thinking in terms of images?
See, honestly, when I read a script, I have to feel attached to the story to begin with, for images to sort of start taking shape. If I've enjoyed the story while reading, that's when my visual track begins, and there is. I do a lot of referencing and stuff before I actually sit down with the director to sort of give them an idea of what kind of images I'm looking at, and then we sort of discuss it out, battle it out sometimes to see whether we're on the same page and we want the same things. Uh, and one doesn't, and this is before signing the project, one doesn't let out everything. You'll give them a basic idea of how you're visualizing the film, but once you're on, then there is a lot of back and forth on how you're treating each scene, how you want to break it down, what kind of shots you want to take, what kind of equipment you want to use. So that's really an ongoing process once you're on board.
So, how could you define the collaboration with the director? I mean, as we understand, director DOP have to be like great friends, husband wife kind of. They
Absolutely.
go hand in hand. They have
You're,
to
I mean,
understand
the
each other's
cinematographer is
mind.
really the eyes for the director. The director is the mind, the cinematographer is the eyes, and
Yeah.
if you're not on the same page, it could throw off a lot of things, because you're working on a fixed schedule most of the times. Not all films can afford going even a single day over.
Yeah.
So there is really no time to get into disagreements on set. So it's best to fight your battles before you get on the set, and give your scenes ample time for discussion before you get there.
Today, the kind of imagery the world is exposed to, is enormous. And the challenge before the cinematographers is to create a kind of imagery which is novel, which is unique, which is unseen. If you are pitched a film like this, how do you create a kind of imagery I'm talking about, something new? What would be the approach? Would you go in for different kinds of movements, the color palettes, or the lensing, or the lighting?
It's really a
What
combination
difference
of,
would you?
yeah, it's actually a combination of all of these things working together. Having said that, while one is trying to stand out, you want your work to stand out in every project, you have to be true to the story. You can't just pick up and say that, in my last film, this is the kind of lensing I did, or the movements I did, or the lighting I did. I will just go and do something else. But you're here, you're shooting a rom com, but there is like high contrast lighting, and there is suspense, and there's smoke in the back. That can't work. So one needs to be true to the story, and uh, sort of enhance visually what is written on paper.
There is a lot of green screen shooting today, and which poses its own
Yeah,
challenges.
virtual reality, yes.
Yeah, and the world is moving in that direction. The cinematography is moving in that direction. What would be your take on this, when the entire film can be done indoors, you know, only using the green screen? Because we may have a conversation coming up with some entrepreneurs from Hollywood. They have come up with this kind of technique. What is the scenario in India? Are we using green screen enough, or are we comfortable using it?
Of course, a lot of films are using green screen. Like if you've seen Tugs of Hindustan, or
Mhm.
Prithviraj right now, or Brahmastra, they're all, a lot of chroma work is happening in that, because they create basic sets and then they do set extensions using chroma, which has been happening for years. The technology is just getting better, and a lot of the indoor green screen work, virtual reality, all of that, there will be a little resistance earlier, but people have to start accepting it. It's like how when digital was coming in, and we fought and fought and fought to try and keep film, but eventually it took over, and everyone sort of tried to up their game using the latest technology that was there. So you have to keep thinking, keep growing, and not be close to changes. So, a lot of chroma work is happening for big Hindi films in India as well at the moment.
No, I've seen, there's no denying a lot of chroma work is happening. But the thing is, are most DOPs comfortable with chroma work? Or my feeling is that some of the DOPs, the old ones, are getting left out slowly. A new generation is taking up, which is more comfortable with digital cinematography. Even the light meters are gone. The way we measured light, the way the exposure meters, everything is changing. So in a scenario like this, how far do you think are we? What's the gap between us and Hollywood?
Uh, so if you ask me honestly,
It's a complex
there is a
question.
wide gap. There is a
Yeah.
wide gap, but I think we are moving in the direction of covering that. Like there is no, like if somebody called me today, even though I may not have done big screen, like big scale chroma work and stuff, but if somebody called me today, I would take up the challenge. Like there's people are not backing off from trying out something new. So
So
though there is a huge gap that we need to cover at the moment.